Welcome to the Alpha Warrior Show. We're excited to share diverse perspectives and expert insights with you. Please note that the views and information expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Alpha Warrior Show, its management, or our partners. Each of our affiliates and sponsors and partnerships is a separate entity, and their opinions are their own. Today's content is provided for information and educational purposes and should not be taken as specific advice, whether it be financial, medical, or legal. While we strive to present accurate and useful information, we cannot guarantee its completeness or relevance to your specific situation. We provide all information as is and encourage you to consult with a professional advisor to address your specific individual needs. Your use of any information from this broadcast is entirely at your own risk. By listening further, you agree to identify and protect the Alpha Warrior Show and its associates from any claims or damages arising from your use of this broadcast content. Changes to this disclaimer may be made at any time and will be done effectively immediately upon posting or broadcasting. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you find the episode both informative and thought-provoking. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Alpha Warrior Show, where we delve into the pressing issues of today through fearless conversation. From time to time, I get a guest that I'm like, hell yeah. Today is most definitely one of those days. I have the man, Chase. You guys know him. Political commentator, influencer, frequent host on the InfoWars show. I'm talking about the man, Chase. That's right, you guys. If you follow me on X, you know who I'm talking about. So I'm pretty stoked about the conversation we're going to get into. Some of the things that he's been working on and what life has kind of been like working alongside of a name everybody knows, AJ Alex Jones. But before we get into that, I got to keep the lights on. So let's get to our two sponsors. And then after that, we're commercial free to the end of this. So first on deck, you guys.
Are you worried about the effects that higher inflation rates will have on your investments? Are you trying to secure your retirement savings against losses, but you notice that inflation is a hot topic these days? But how dangerous are low inflation rates on your retirement savings? An inflation rate of 2% may not seem like much, but it means that prices will just about quintuple over the lifetime of the average American. And 4% average inflation rate means that something that costs $1 when they're born will cost $23 when they die. That demonstrates the danger of even low inflation rates. So when it comes to gold and inflation rates, many investors want to know whether inflation rates have an effect on gold prices. What history indicates is that over the long term, increased inflation should lead to correspondingly higher gold prices. From September 1971 to August 2020, gold grew 7.5 times as much as inflation. Not only can an investment in physical gold help protect your assets against the damage done by inflation, it can also help grow the value of your retirement portfolio over the long term. If you're looking to protect your retirement assets, why wait until stock markets crash and gold begins to rise in price?
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Geiser fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
$25. America's favorite mustache. Go support the man. My Pillow or my store. Promo code Alpha works at both of those. Let me bring the man of the hour that you guys really want to hear from tonight, Chase. First, let me say, man, what an honor to have you on the Alpha Warrior Show, man. It truly, I'm pretty pumped up.
The honor's all mine, dude. Are you kidding me? Dude, I was watching that Michael Lindell commercial, and do you my background's in advertising. I did social media advertising for, 8 years. And do you remember when he was on Fox before Fox sucked? He would have the commercial where he interrupted his own commercial with a better deal. Do you remember that?
I do.
That was like the best thing in advertising since sliced bread, man. Like,
we interrupt this commercial.
He interrupted his own fucking commercial, dude. I need to get Jones to do something like that.
Dude, you need to get in his ear. I keep saying this. I'm just like, someone's got to tell him this. He needs to come up with a pillowcase that's his mustache, bro. A pillowcase that's his mustache.
Dude.
Like, dude, I'm telling you.
Promo code STASH.
Promo code STASH. I'm telling you, people will buy it, man. But no, seriously, Chase, it truly is pretty awesome to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
I'd like to start off with something a little different, because I'm pretty sure the vast majority of my audience is like, dude, Chase, hell yeah, let's do this. But let's start off in the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Chase that, probably the public doesn't know. Like, what got you into like this political arena, this political commentary?
Yeah. So, gosh, man, most people probably don't know that when I was growing up, I wanted to be a music producer and a musician. I went to school to study audio engineering technology, and I thought I was going to work with bands my entire life. So most people probably don't know that because I kind of come off as like a buttoned up, political pundit. But my whole identity until I was like 23 years old was being in recording studios with hipsters.
Yes.
I got into the political stuff because January 6th happened, and the leftists started calling me and my family and my friends domestic terrorists and right-wing extremists. And at that point, I was like, whoa, fuck this. Like, I need to get involved because my vote obviously isn't working, right? And that's how I started doing it. And I started my podcast, and, I started out with smaller guests, and I would ladder my guests up until I had bigger and bigger guests. And then I got to have Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. And then I laddered that into being a guest on InfoWars, since I happened to be in Austin, Texas. And they started asking me to guest host when Harrison Smith was out for the morning show. And after I filled in a bunch, I just asked for a job and they hired me.
That is solid, man. And I know what it's like, man, because I'm this, I always tell people I'm still getting my cherry pop. Like, this world is new to me. We're approaching 2.5 years now. But I do remember that that first name that I was like, okay, this is a household name. That's
Yeah. Who was your first?
I would say General Flynn for me was the first one that
That's
was that
awesome.
kind of name.
Tell
I
that
mean,
motherfucker to come on the American Journal with me or Sunday Night Live show. I host the Sunday show now on InfoWars.
I don't want to take away. There was big guests prior to him, like like Dr. Mikovits and Sherry
Yeah.
Ted, but those were names that a lot of people knew because of the environment was what was
Right.
unfolding.
And sometimes the small guests are the best guests, but there is something to be said for like, holy shit, Roger Stone's coming on, like.
Dude, and I just remember just my chest is being like, dude, don't screw this up.
How'd you get him? He followed you and you DM'd him or what?
I was kind of just that guy that's just that mosquito that's like, God, this kid ain't gonna stop bugging, man. Like the only way to get him off my back is let's just go do this show. But I developed a pretty good rapport with, and I would say even friendship, beyond rapport with Boone. And Boone had kind of been monitoring some of the work that I was doing, and I had reached out and said, hey, look, the audience is a pretty decent size now, that it's it's not going to be a waste of time to come push a message right now. And
how big did your audience have to get? Because I found it was around 10,000 followers on Twitter. Some of the bigger accounts started giving me the time of day to at least respond and say no instead of just ignoring me. Where did you find that you started getting a little bit of positive treatment?
For me, I know it was like that 15K mark.
Yeah, it's right around there.
15K. And it's interesting too, because it was, it was still Twitter then, it was like you get to like 13.5, and then it was just like it would just hold. And I'm just like, well, and it's showing that I'm getting followers and subscribers, and then you pick up some, and then it would go down, and I was just like, man, this is funny business going on over here. But the cool thing is right when it hit that 15 mark. So for those that are that close, don't give up yet. It seems like right when it hit that 15,000 mark, it just started going like really fast.
And a lot of it has to do with ratio too. Like a lot of people make the mistake of following too many accounts because they think that the notification is going to help them get a follow back. But if your ratio is screwed up, then the algorithm gives you a lower reputation score.
Well, it almost even has kind of a built-in protection for that, because I noticed early on, like even if I wanted to follow everybody back that was following me, it would stop me. And sometimes it would even like log me out and make, CAPTCHA, pretend you are not a machine, right?
Right.
You're not a machine. So there was, it looks like they had some things in place for that. But it just came to the point where it's just like, I appreciate every single person that follows me. But if I follow back, 50,000 plus people, I'm not seeing anything. Like it's not, that's too many people to try to follow. But yeah, it was that mark. So, that brings me to the question of, how did it feel that first moment when it was just like, hey, you've come on, you've provided some analysis, and now we want you to do a show here on Alex Jones on the InfoWars. What's that like, man?
It's ineffable. It's hard to find the words to describe this facility that we're in. The command center, as Alex likes to call it, is incredibly impressive. And walking into the building, I've been here a year now, it still feels like sometimes I walk in, I'm like, I can't fucking believe that I'm here, and it's like the little shit that'll really get you. Like sitting next to Alex Jones when he's doing a space, and then during the break hanging out with him for 4 minutes, and you're like, I can't believe I have a front. Like sometimes when I'm sitting next to him in studio, I literally have the thought, I can't believe I have a front row seat to the Alex Jones show. Like I'm the only fucking one in the audience, like physically here in the studio audience. Like I don't even feel like I'm part of the show. I'm just like got the best seat in the house, So like I have moments like that, but fundamentally, man, like the whole motive behind it, and it's definitely not the money. And this, anybody who's ever tried to be in this business, there's like no fucking money in this unless you blow up like a Ben Shapiro. But you have to put like 5 or 10 or 15 years in before you get to the point where there's a lot of money. Like I'm making about a third of what I was making before when I was in business for myself. The reason people do this, at least when you look at the authentic people, is because there's something in your conscience or your psyche where you just cannot tolerate not doing something about all the fucked up shit that's going on. Part of my language, I don't know what the policy is.
No, let it fly, brother.
Okay, cool. So the reason you do this is because you want to make a difference. And the hardest part is how long it takes before you start making a difference, right? Like you just like, posting podcast after podcast, 72 views. 100 views. I mean, I posted my interview with Steve Bannon. Steve fucking Bannon. It was like the week that he got charged with contempt of Congress, and he was on my show, and it got like 700 views. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, this is Steve Bannon the week of this. You know what I mean? And then like suddenly, like it's like asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be opened unto you. Like it just pops. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, I just did this broadcast that got like, 200,000 views, or I just got invited to Timcast, or now I'm on the Alex Jones show 3 times a week. Like, what the fuck? So the coolest part about it is when you reach the point where you're actually accomplishing the mission of like waking people the fuck up, So that's been really rewarding, man. And it's worth like the loss of income and stuff like that.
I like what you said. It's just because it takes a while for a large portion, especially when you start off. You're like, I just want to make sure I just get out of the red. like I want to put my message out there and just not have it be an expense. Just put me a little bit over. And then, like you said, it's just, and I do remember that. I still got a long ways to go, and I understand that, but I do remember doing those initial shows, and it's just like 117. You're like, come on. But one of the motivator, one of the reasons I even started doing what I was doing, Chase, was I saw that there was a lot of people that would take it to the edge, but then they would just kind of just toe the line. And I was like, I know more than that. Like, I know
Yeah, especially when all the censorship was in place on X. I self-censored. Yeah, you wouldn't see shit from me about the vaccines in 2022 on X.
And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be little starting out, so I can risk, talking about the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. So I said, let's do this. Let's talk COVID. Let's talk J6. Let's talk the 3 no-nos, right, in elections, and let's just see what happens. And I just remember thinking, like, come on, you guys, the information's here. You got to come watch. And you see it. You'd hit an episode and it'd be like 600 people, and I'd be like, yeah, smashed it. That's what I'm talking about. Dude. Like, I was pumped.
Yeah. The coolest thing too is when somebody else clips your content. It doesn't happen very often, even to me still, but like when somebody else clips a part of your show and you see it pop somewhere else, like that is fucking cool.
Dude, my moment on that, Chase, I had someone in the audience that you develop some friendships with, particular people,
Hell yeah.
And this one friendship that I started, they messaged me and they're like, hey, heads up, your show was just on Rachel Maddow's thing. And I'm like,
she was talking shit.
I go, what? Send me that clip. Well, I had brought on Scott McKay, the Patriot Street Fighter, right? And we're talking about the Gazarians, right?
Shit.
And man, it pissed them off. They're like, this Nazi propaganda podcast.
Meanwhile, they're funding Ukraine $60 million. They're fucking Nazis. And they did it on Hitler's birthday.
I'm just like, what? I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, you can't call me a Nazi. You're tripping.
I did not see that coming.
I did not see that coming. I like that. But it was just one of those things that it put in perspective, like, oh shit. And the cool thing is I experienced for the first time this old saying that you guys know about: any publicity is good publicity, because I saw the numbers go like really fast.
Yep, it's better to be infamous than not famous at all. That's a stone rule.
And I was like, hell yeah, this is freaking awesome. So with that awesomeness, here's my next question for you. Alex Jones, man, like he is an iconic figure. A lot of the stuff that people, is safe to talk about now, this man's been talking about for forever and a day. What is it like when you guys are off camera? Like, is Alex Jones off the camera?
Let me tell you something that blew my fucking mind after I started working here. First of all, I worked here for 2 weeks before I ever even had a conversation with him. So it's like, is he even here? Like, there's 2 warehouses, it's a big facility, and you're supposed to kind of leave him alone, especially if you're new. He is exactly the fucking same. So he walks into my like tiny closet office that I was in, and he goes, it's just fucking crazy what they're doing out there. How are you doing? How are you liking it here? Let me give you my number. All right. And it's like, oh shit, it's not a show. Like how the left always bashes him as like saying in court that he's an actor and he plays a character. Like, first of all, that's like something his lawyer said, and they're taking it way out of context. No. He's exactly the same. He's actually probably even a little more intense in person. He's like holding back a little bit for radio because he doesn't want to scare people away. Like during the breaks, sometimes he's like, I can't fucking believe what they're fucking doing. It's just the crew. The commercials are running on there, and he's like behind the desk. So yeah, dude, he's real. It's 100% real. It's funny, man. The other day, I I drove him home because he got really sick in the middle of the show. Like came down with like a flu bug or something. So I was like, Jones, don't drive home. I'll drive you home and I'll pick you up tomorrow, so because your car will be here. And so I went to pick him up in the morning and my car broke down. And I had to call my wife, and she had to throw my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old in the car and pick me up. And we all went to pick Alex Jones up at his house. My kids are asleep. My 3-year-old daughter wakes up and Alex is in the front seat and she sees him. And I've never, ever talked to her about Alex Jones. Right. And she's seen him enough on TV. She wakes up, she goes, Mommy, is that Alex Jones? She's 3 years old. I had no idea she even knew who he was. Right. He's just sitting in the front laughing, So I don't know. I don't know why I told that story, but the point is he's exactly the same in real life as he is on air.
Well, and see, that's cool, because what I'm noticing is a lot of these people, when I've had a chance to meet them in person, the one consistency that I've known with people that are trying to get the truth out there is who you see on the camera is who they've been when I've met them.
Yeah.
And it's been so reassuring because it's authenticity, that's so important to the audience. And I know I remember, being on the other side, just watching all these different podcasts, because I was like, screw mainstream media. Like they're just trying to unplug and deprogram. So, I'm searching for these people, but you have the question and you wonder, like, are they really like that? Are they legit? So to hear it from people like you that have, personal time, professional relationships with people like Alex, to hear, Alex is Alex. Like that's who you're seeing. It's super cool to know on the other side of the lens that that's the kind of person he is. Here's something. And if this one's out of bounds and you don't want to answer, it's cool.
Okay.
But if you can't answer, that's cool too.
Okay. I mean,
like if it was me, I'd be like, if I ever got to work for Alex Jones, there's going to be one question that I want to ask him. Like, what is this? Like, what, come on, man. Like give it to me. Did you have man, there's going to be a moment where I get to have a conversation with Alex and this is the shit I'm going to hit him with. Like, did you ever have anything like that?
The other day, have you ever seen that famous Alex Jones clip? Maybe you can cut it into the show where he brags about being with 150 women by the time he's 16. Dude, you have to go on my Twitter and find it. I think if you searched on my Twitter just 150 women, you probably find it. You could go on YouTube and find it. Media Matters or Right Wing Watch did a whole thing. So he's on air and he's doing this rant about how, because of the education system and our institutions, men aren't really adults until they're 40. Right. And that naturally we're supposed to be grown ass men by the time we're 16. We're supposed to have a wife and maybe a kid already and have our shit together in our own house or farm or hunters. Right. That's the point of the rant. He goes, by the time I was 16, I didn't want to party anymore. I didn't want to screw around anymore. I've been in all the fights. I've probably been with, I'm not bragging, it's shameful, 150 women. Right. It's so fucking funny. So during the break the other day, I was fucking with him just to kind of cheer him up a little bit. I was like, I can't remember how it came up, but it made sense. It was about, I don't know how it made sense, but I was like, oh yeah, those 150 women by the time you were 16. And he's like, he looks at me dead serious because I was fucking with him, trying to call him on it. And he's like, it was shameful. He just fucking doubled down on it, dude. So that was mine where I was just like, you're full of shit. I tried to call him on it, but he doubled down. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Dude, the next time you conversate with them and you bring that up, say I was on a show, this guy named Alpha, and we were talking about that, and he said, oh, so that means his total count's 151.
Yeah,
that's where he's been once in 16. I don't even want to go there. Here's where I do want to go, man. And then we'll start transitioning to more of the stuff that is isolated to just you. But coming on the Alex Jones show, one of the things I would have to imagine, because I know just with some of the guests that I've had on, I'm like, this is going to bring the attention of people that we don't necessarily trust right now, like the government, like the FBI, like this. Did you ever have now that I work here, I'm going to be on quite a few lists of entities that are out there that are, would love nothing more than to shut down InfoWars, bury Alex and everybody around him. What was it like feeling that kind of pressure, if it even existed at all?
I'm more scared of what would happen if I didn't fight back than what's going to happen because I'm fighting back. So what I'm doing is actually the thing that I'm least afraid of. You know what I mean? Okay, so what if I'm quiet and everybody's quiet and then 10 years, 15 years goes by and we continue on this trajectory of corruption? That's a much more terrifying world than the shit that I could possibly get, So I don't really give a fuck about that. I don't care if they lock me up, dude. It's not going to happen because I'm not a criminal. I don't think it'll happen. But if they're locking me up for my political speech, then that, you know, then I'm screwed anyway. Everybody's screwed at that point, right? So my thinking is like, burn the ships. There's no turning back. We're either going to take Troy or die trying. And so I don't care about it. I will say though that weird things have happened since I started working here, and I don't want to get into like details, but like, you know, weird things like computers being like hijacked for a minute, like, you know, as if like somebody remotely is fucking with them. I've had calls from bizarre numbers, and when I search them, it says DOJ. I've had people follow me home. One day I got in my car and it had been like tampered with. I don't know if it's bugged. It's probably not bugged. It was probably nothing, but like little shit like that happens and makes you like, so you kind of feel a little bit like, you know, you can just kind of tell when somebody's watching you and you look and they're like looking at you, and, you know, you kind of get that vibe sometimes, but nothing like so, it's not like you know, a James O'Keefe thing where I could be like, aha, you know, like this fucking asshole. Like I couldn't ever prove it, but yeah, you get a little bit of that vibe. But Jesus Christ, man, ever since Edward Snowden came out with all that shit 10 or 15 years ago, like everybody should feel like that, man. They were already watching me, you know? So,
man, that's been humbling because listen, you know, I always tell people my red pill is like really like recent, you know, in terms of, you know, compared to other people.
yeah.
You know, I was just doing my job as a cop. Like, you know, I've watched kind of world news and international news, but it was more like gonna go do my job and then, you know, go home, take care of the family. Like that was it, you know, simple life. And, you know, and then I found myself in the fight. And I remember watching the news and I was like, why does everybody give a shit that this dude Epstein killed himself? Like people kill themselves all the day. What the hell's so special about this dude? So I dive into it, and obviously, you know, you go down the rabbit hole and there's just never coming back, right? You're just here to here to here. So, you know, the whole veil of what's really going on is there, which brings me into starting to, you know, I started seeing some of the Edward Snowden videos and it's like, oh my God, this shit is terrifying.
I just watched that movie again. It's pretty good. The one that they did with, what's his name? Forget.
Well, the other
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
The thing that made it even more terrifying was some of the things he was talking about I used in law enforcement. You don't see it from a bad point. You're just like, well, yeah, we're going after the bad guys. But you see how he presents it. And then I start thinking, well, no, he's right. There isn't really checks and balances to that. Like, well, yeah, he's right. If I wanted to use it to do this, I could have. And he's right. Nobody would have known. Like you start to see like, holy shit, this kind of stuff in the hands of the wrong people is terrifying.
Yeah.
But like you said, these things that you can't explain. So I'll give you one that people are going to laugh. Judge me. I don't care. It's funny. Every time I would come home and park in the driveway of my truck on the opposite side of the street, you know, my neighbor's house, there's a light post. And when I would park, as soon as I would open the door to step out, it would flicker. The light would just flicker. And so I'm just like, what the hell's up with that? You know, and I go inside.
He's taking a picture?
So no, not like that black, like a bright flash. It was just like, if you've ever seen a street light, like when it looks like it's starting to flicker to turn
like
off.
A fluorescent. It's like, it's losing its
it was something, it looked more like that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know, it caught my attention. So then it was just like, how often does it do this thing? And so then, you know, then you start paying attention to it. And it's like, I get home, drive, and I would stay. I know people are going to judge me. I would stay in the driver's seat. And kind of looking at my side mirror. All right, no flicker. Open door, get out, flicker. I'm just like, all right, who's fucking with me? You know, so, but I mean, you're right. It's not like, you know, O'Keefe stuff where you can put it out there. But the other weird thing, and this was, I was doing a show, and I could say his name, he wouldn't mind. I was doing a show with a guy named Sean Taylor. And he kind of did the same law enforcement path I did, but he did in the narcotics realm, but still undercover work and all that. Well, it started to become a really hot series that we were doing. It started tapping into things that, you know, the narrative doesn't want you to tap into. And on one of the days where we're getting ready, you know, we're pre-show conversation, and I'm talking to him, and my cursor on the screen starts moving on its own, and the mouse is over here. So I kind of look at it like, you know, did I elbow it or something? So I look at it and I'm looking. I'm not touching the mouse, but the cursor's moving on the screen. So then I grab it, and it had like a little hesitation, but then it was good and there was no more issues with it. But then you start thinking like, man, was someone tapped into my stuff? Like, you know, was there something?
Well, didn't you get fucking raided?
I did.
Yeah, so they're definitely watching your ass, bro. That should be the red flag, right? I think something might be wrong.
I'll tell you, man, when they brought back my electronics, they were just like, yeah, we're here to return your electronics. I'm like,
So what happened? Did you get like prosecuted or charged with anything? Why did they raid you?
So they started the raid. So it was January 15th of 2021. They started the raid saying that my Twitter social media had been reported to them by a confidential informant, confidential source, and that it was domestic extremism probe is how they put into context.
How many followers did you have at the time?
Dude, like 600 and something.
Were you at January 6th?
No.
Fuck these people. What the fuck are they doing at your house?
And the crazier part is I had a bigger like social media footprint on Instagram. On Instagram, I had probably like 1,500 people, which I know like a lot of people say, well, that's not large. But I mean, in comparison,
right.
When Instagram had taken me down, I was like, oh, I have this old Twitter account. I'll just go use that. And so I got it. Didn't even know what the hell I was doing with Twitter. And like I said, it was like 620 some people. And I remember wondering, like, why the hell did I land on their radar? Like, who gives a shit? Like,
did you post anything crazy?
Dude, no, spicy, but not crazy. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
At the time, I was still in litigation to get my job back, and we had already won arbitration. And so we were scheduled, because we don't have binding arbitration with my old agency, we were scheduled to go to the appeals court in May of 2021. So, of course, I'm going to play by the rules. Like, I can't say anything. Even if I wanted to say something stupid, I can't say something stupid because even though technically at that moment, I don't have my police officer powers to enforce, if we win again, then that means everything's retrograde, which means I got to make sure that I keep my private life unsullied. It's part of our oath. And so when they hit me up, you know, and they're like, oh, your social media, because as soon as he opened up his binder and I saw the printouts on my social media, the first thing that came to my head is like, you got to be fucking kidding me. This is over my Twitter shit.
You should have posted a bunch of dick pics so that he had to have a binder full of your cock. You know? Like the tweet is like, kill the president, and it's a picture of your dick, and they're like, is this you? You're like, yeah.
Stretching out the turkey guts, man. Like, here you go. Here it is. But it, you know, it was just it was just wild because that's always been kind of the $1 million question. Like, what the hell? You know, and we all want to think we're super important, but like, you know, being honest, I had such a small digital footprint. You know, I was, you know, involved in, you know, litigation with getting my job back anyways. Like,
and this didn't happen to like thousands of people, did it?
No. So at the time that this happened, I'm the only J6. I think there's one more now. But at the time, and for like at least 2 years, I was the only J6er that was rated that was not at J6. The only one. But I think late last year, I think they did do it to one other person. I heard
something was going on, dude.
I mean, I've asked some questions and I've heard some far out fringe shit, and I've heard, you know.
Do you like have an idea why this happened? Like, did you have like a higher up in law enforcement that fucking hated you?
So,
like,
if I had to break it down Occam's razor style, I would say because I had one litigation, my agency already knew, hey, he won arbitration. He's going to get a wrongful termination against us, you know. And this was more of an admin issue because one of the reasons I won was detectives came out, everybody said the truth, and body cameras. So they knew that I was not only going to get reinstated, but it was going to be a check that had probably at least 2 commas on it, because of all the shit that they had did in the process. So because we suspected this, you know, as we started to get into the court hearings, my attorney did a motion to reveal the identity of the confidential source that the FBI reported they had. Well, the FBI, they would ignore it, but the day of, I mean, I'm literally with my attorney walking up to the courthouse when the deputy DA comes and tells my attorney, hey, I know you're doing the motion to quash, but the motion for the informant, like, we don't need to do that. And he's like, the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, we do. He has a constitutional right to know who the informant is.
Right. You can face your accuser.
100%. That's the Constitution. So the DA says, well, the lawyer that's representing the FBI says, well, I talked to the FBI agents and they said they made a mistake. There is no confidential informant, that they meant to write anonymous party. Now, the crazy part is, to this day, they haven't given us the police report. They haven't given us the full warrant, but in the partial warrant they've given us, it's like 7 or 8 pages. They say this 3 times: confidential source, confidential informant, and I think confidential informant. One of them they say twice. So I'll give you one if you're going to say it's a mistake, but 3 times. And if we see the whole warrant, it's probably in there another 12 times. Bullshit. Like, you're lying. You're 100% lying. Well, you would think that would get the case thrown out, because that informant's information is the basis for you getting the warrant. And now you're saying that doesn't exist. Well, then fruits of the crime, like everything, you know, everything should be gone. But of course, these are J6 cases, and the Constitution doesn't matter. So, you know.
So is it all cleaned up now? You got all your shit back? You're good?
So Well, they did 2 cases. So they had the civil case, which was since it's California, red flag gun laws. So they used that to take my firearms. And then they had the criminal case. Well, every motion we did in the criminal case to get them to talk about what's going on, court would deny. So my attorney said, you know what? This is bullshit. But when we go to the civil hearing, these agents have to take the stand and they're not going to be able to hide it there. So they may delay the information, but the second we go to the civil case, like, we're going to get the information we want, and they're fucked. Well, the day we're going to the civil case, once again, the FBI's attorney reaches out to my attorney, says, you still got to be at the civil court. However, just so you know, we're going to motion to dismiss the case. So they dismissed the civil case, which allowed me to get my firearms and all the property that they took away from me back. But the criminal case was still going. Well, the criminal case is based off of the search warrant they got to use the California red flag laws in the civil case.
Right. So the whole foundation has been pulled out.
I agree with you, but they won't do it. But it just shows, because
so you're still in a criminal suit?
They've offered plea after plea after plea, and next month I go again, because every time they give me a plea, I said, go fuck yourself. We're gonna go to court, we're gonna go to trial, and we're gonna expose.
What's the best deal they tried to give you?
Dude, they gave me a deal I've never heard of in law enforcement before, ever. Any other person, I would tell them, take this deal, like 100% take this deal.
What was the deal?
They said, listen, we will drop the felony charge, because it's a single felony charge for possession of a rifle, which is my old patrol rifle.
Yeah.
Story of in itself. But they said, we'll drop it down from a felony to a misdemeanor. The second you sign guilty, we will close the case. No probation, no nothing. It's closed. And the DA will support you doing expungement, where they remove it from your record the following day. So
fuck these people. They don't have shit. Judge is going to look at the plea deal they offered you, and they're going to be like, they even know they don't have shit.
So
are you doing a jury or a judge?
So no, it'll be a jury. This is a jury. This will be a jury trial. So
are you in San Diego?
Riverside County.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
So we'll see.
The Inland Empire, bro. You're going to be okay.
Well,
it's all fucking motocross and Monsters energy drinks, dude.
So, well, as long as we're able to put stuff in front of the jury, I got no worries. We win this 120 times out of 100 times.
Yeah.
However, it's kind of been hinted to us that they're probably going to try to suppress what's shown to the jury. So we've had to kind of maneuver, and I'll be careful how much I say here, because I don't want to give them too much of the game.
Okay. I don't want to get you in trouble on accident.
No, it's not about trouble. It's just I don't want to tip them off on the strategy here. But we are careful about what we're requesting for motions to prevent them from, during trial, being, well, we already addressed that in motion, and then having it not be inevitable. So we've kind of taken a step back when it comes to motions to make sure that we have the ability to present that, like when we go to trial. So this way they can't say it's addressed and either take it to chambers or, figure out what we're going to do.
So what's the worst that could happen? What if a jury finds you guilty? Are you fucked?
I'm not. I mean, I'm fucked as in I'm going to be pretty fucking pissed off.
Are you going to go to jail?
It would be 1 to 3 years. So normally, let's just say I was a real life bad guy and they found me guilty. Well, a single weapons charge with no criminal history and the record that I have, normally it'd just be instant probation. Like, whatever time you served when they threw you in solitary confinement, that's it. But because this is tied to J6, that's the only thing that kind of makes me a little weary, where they might go outside the scope of that and be like, well, no, this is something that's 1 to 3 years. So we'll give them, somewhere in the, parameters of that. And then, it's California. So you would do 50% of whatever that sentence is normally. So worst case scenario for me would probably be something like 18 months, which sucks, because I got my little
baby letters.
So, well, and this is what I always tell my audience. Listen, I know what's at risk. I'm not going to pretend that, of course, I'm not concerned. I am concerned. I got a family that I got to take care of. But at the same time, if I was to plead guilty to them, Chase, then does my life get easier? Yeah, it does. I get to carry on with what I'm doing.
Yeah, but fuck that. Then you got to live with the fact that you lied about your own character.
100%.
And that you buckled. Yeah, fuck that. Put me in prison the rest of my life. You may take, but my integrity never. Fuck that.
And gave them.
They shouldn't even be legal.
It shouldn't
give
be
somebody
legal.
Incentive to lie.
100% should be legal. And the other thing is there's people right now in J6 that are facing 15, 20, 25 years. So of course it is hard to ask those people to take the fight when it's, an open checkbook.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not gonna disparage anybody who does it. But
for me, it's like, you know what? I was already ready to give my life through the military and through law enforcement. So if I got to give 18 months of my life to get these motherfuckers on paper under oath to say, we did this, this, and this to get away with it while they're under the hands of are protected by the hands of corruption, that's fine, because we're not always going to be under this tyrannical government that we're in. That is not always going to be the case. We are going to be in a situation where we have a righteous Department of Defense, a righteous Department of Justice, a righteous presidency. And when that comes, there's going to be an accountability that comes with it. And guess what? All that shit you did on my court transcript, we're going to get to go, and we're going to get to bring that shit back up, because I didn't plead. So that shit will be open up for appeals. And where they made the biggest mistake, Chase, is they should have did their homework before they came for me, because my
shouldn't have fucked with the wrong guy.
Shouldn't have fucked with, because I know search warrants. And so in California, I'm still considered an expert in search warrants, even though I'm going through this shit. It's hilarious. However, I know just by the few pages I've seen and just the things they've done, I already know where they cut corners. I already know where they've been doing templates. I already know where it's like, okay, here you lied. So if you lied here, that means I got to look here. Like, and that's why they don't want to give us the whole warrant, because they did their homework on me after the fact.
The fact you don't have a right to see your own warrant is particularly fucked up.
Dude, almost 3 years. Almost 3 years.
I thought they had to hand you the warrant when they raided you.
So just
they don't have to do that. They just have to tell you that one exists.
Well, they give you the face page. So they give you the face page that'll show your information.
That,
it'll show you the items to be searched. But
dude, I didn't know that about warrants. I thought if somebody was going to search your house, you got to know who, what, where, when, and why.
It's
Dude, is it a California thing, or is that just like the way it is everywhere?
No, that's the way it is. That's
fuck that, dude. I tell you what, man, you come to my house with a face page, you're leaving my house without a fucking face, bro. I'm fucking dead too. I'm dead too. I know, but Jesus Christ, dude, no way.
It's a limited scope. It'll tell you, like it says, it's a face page. It'll tell you the property or persons to be searched and seized, and then after that, you get a receipt of whatever was taken. So, but
wow.
Hey.
Did they take shit and not mark it down so they don't have to give it back?
You know, if they did, nothing that I didn't notice, because I try to do an accounting of everything. Although there is one, and I'll go more into details with you on this offline. Okay. There was a specific book that I have not been able to find, and I didn't notice it till probably over a year and a half later. And I'm like,
Anarchist Cookbook?
No.
That'd be a good one.
No, it's not a fancy one.
What was the deal with the wrongful termination? How did you get wrongfully terminated?
So
did you arrest a black guy or something?
No, I would have got promoted. So we had we were working for a great chief, a man by the name of George Crumb, just a phenomenal human being. Yeah, the Crumbster. And he ended up retiring about 3 years earlier than we expected. And our under chief, Travis Walker, we used to call him DC, the deputy chief. He was we were excited about him in the beginning because he was the captain of the San Bernardino SWAT team during the terrorist attack that happened in San Bernardino. So on paper, this dude resume read like a lot of ours. So we're like, dude, we're going to go from this great chief to another great chief that's like us, done undercover, done gangs, done dope. Like we're like the next 15 years, like we're set. Like this is going to be good times. But when he took the reins, that quiet deputy chief that he was no longer quiet. And as a matter of fact,
it went to his head or what?
I don't think it went to his head. I think it was always there. We just got to finally see it since there's no one to pull the reins on him. And so when he took over, you know, I had worked for some good chiefs and I had worked for some mediocre chiefs. But the one thing that at that current time, he got handed the golden goose. Like he had an agency that morale was at its highest, efficiency was at its highest. Like good people. We had just hired a bunch of new blood.
Right. Like, nothing was broken.
Nothing. Like he just
all he had to do was over, like just let it roll.
Easy Street. He walked into Easy Street, and the first time that he meets with our police officers association, first thing he tells us, you know, there's a lot of shit here that's fucked up, and I'm going to fix it. And we're like, what?
Oh no!
That was the response, bro. Like, oh,
I'm with the government, and I'm here to help.
Oh. And little by little, you just started to see the power. So there was a particular detective, and there's rumors, you know, about what may or may not been going on between them. I don't know. But nonetheless, there was some type of preference with this female detective.
He was fucking her. I can say it. You don't have to say it.
And so
he's fucking this detective.
Thank you, brother. And so, you know, she was working a homicide case, and, you know, I would say at least 75-80% of the warrants that we would do, I was going to have a hand in it or write it because it was going to come back to being gang tied somehow.
Okay.
So she comes to me with this warrant. I read it. I'm like, there ain't no fucking probable cause, you know. So I tell her, And so she goes and she cries to the sergeant, who happens to be a good friend of mine. And so
you
he
want a
calls me,
blowjob or not? Oh, different guy. Never mind.
different guy. This guy won't do it because his wife kicked his ass. And so he calls me. He's like, Luna. So I go in there and I'm like, hey, what up, Sarge? And he's like, hey, Heather's saying that, you know, you're being lazy. You don't want to do a warrant for her. I'm just like, no, she don't got the fucking probable cause. So I lay it out for him. And he's like, yeah, there ain't no fucking probable cause. Like, that's what I told
It'd be a lot easier for me to give her the warrant than deal with this shit. So it's not because I'm lazy, right?
And well, it's one of those things I even tell him. I go, Sarge, we're overtime whores. Like, you know, we love that shit. Like, who's going to say no to overtime? Like, if we write this warrant, it's easily another 14, 18 hours of overtime, right? Everybody's going to be happy. And so he calls her in. He's like, hey, you got no problem. Did he miss something? No, you got no probable cause. Well, on a homicide case, we have a morning briefing and we have an evening briefing when we close shop for the day. We don't have anything in between unless we get like a tip or, you know, some evidence develops. There's no other briefings. Well, the DC comes in and he wants to have a briefing. And I'm just like, I already know what this shit's about. So we go in there. He just kind of shoots the shit for about a minute and a half. And then he lays out the real purpose of why we're there. I want warrants on these 3 guys. I want that shit done in 2 hours. I don't want to hear nothing about it. And so I'm looking at, you know, my sergeant, who I like him, but he's a yes sir dude, right? He don't say nothing. I'm looking at Heather. She ain't saying shit. So I'm going to be the one that writes it. So I speak up and I'm like, hey, DC, well, what's the PC probable cause? And this dude gets pissed off. He's a big black dude, right? He gets up, stands up, slams his fist on the conference table. And he's like, they're fucking gangsters, Luna. They're fucking gangsters. That's your probable cause.
Fucked up.
So he storms out.
He's the fucking informant, dude. Motherfucker. So, dude, he's the fucking one that got your ass raided, dude. He was involved with the terrorist shit, so he's got connections with the feds.
So now you know why
he's your fucking boy, dude. Fuck that guy.
Now you know why we did the motion. You're seeing what I'm seeing.
What the fuck, dude? I'm a retard. I figured it out in 2 fucking seconds. You gotta be in court for 2 years to get to the bottom of this shit. You should just have the judge on your fucking podcast. Game over, bro.
So that's been the nonsense, bro. So yeah. So long story short, we shoot to arbitration. The judge in arbitration writes a 36-page award letter and just calls bullshit on everything that the admin was trying to do. He even said, you know, Detective Luna has an impeccable record. You're trying to use him as a scapegoat.
He fired you for refusing to write a warrant? Did you refuse?
No. So he couldn't fire me for that. So what they did was he took over chief in December of 2017. So, but from January of 2018 to April of 2018, so just over 4 months, if you include the few weeks in December, he writes me up 4 times and puts that in lieu of termination. He tries to say that I fraudulently did a time card, which I didn't. He goes over and says there's a homicide case that, of course, Heather's involved in. That they try to make me the scapegoat on. Like it was a fucking debacle of a
damage, Heather.
Oh, and then he tries to do a mandated reporter case, which my body cams show that I was telling the truth on that case. Like the lady didn't give me the information. He was trying to say that they got later, which in that case, it is sad because the kids were being abused. This is that information wasn't relayed to me. So when we go to arbitration, it's an easy win case. Well, first things first, for those that don't know my story, let's just stipulate they're telling the truth. Let's just stipulate that everything they're saying that I did is true, that I made those mistakes. None of them are fireable offenses. None of them. Even if you did it in a progressive disciplines stance, none of that's, you know, termination. However, I didn't do any of those things, which is why we ended up winning arbitration. But where we messed up is we don't have binding arbitration. So the city says, fuck you, fuck the judge. We don't care what the judge ordered. We're going to go to appeals, which was scheduled for May of 2021, but we would have the incident with the FBI in January of 2021, which would change the trajectory of everything. Like now
this motherfucker conspired against you, bro.
100%. And with the FBI, because all of a sudden,
DC?
What's that?
No,
he actually got fired a little less than a year after he terminated. Because I'm telling the city, I've been in 4 shootings for you guys, the Medal of Valor for you guys, awards from Congress for you guys. I've had an impeccable record. I've never been written up since training and crashing a police car, which is a cool fucking story.
I can tell just by talking to you that you're not a fuck up.
You know, and I appreciate that, brother. You know, so I'm telling him this dude's corrupt. Like you're firing the wrong fucking dude here.
Yeah.
Well, they don't listen. Well, a little less than a year later, he's the chief, right? And he would resign in lieu of termination. Him, the city came to an arrangement because he would whip his pecker out on the desk and tell one of the dispatchers, if you want to get promoted to supervisor, So like I said, he termination, resignation, everybody can argue what they want. So on this time, I'm still going through the legal process to fight. So everybody's sending me the news articles of this happening. So I'm like, karma's a bitch, right? It is what it is. This dude gets hired as police chief again for is it Santa Clara? Yeah, Santa Clara. It's almost up north police department in California. So I'm like, how the hell
Vatican just moved him?
I'm thinking this dude has connections. Like if that shit, this dude has connections. Well, a perv is gonna perv. It would only take him a few months for now.
Is he Democrat?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But while he was there, in a few months, he ends up sexual assaulting a dispatcher and a female cop, and gets terminated from that agency in another lawsuit. So
what's he doing now?
I have no idea. Dude fell off the map. I heard somebody told me he started like his own consulting firm or something like that.
Is he gonna have to testify?
I don't know.
In your case,
No, because we don't have. If we would have been able to do the motion and prove the connection, because we know it's him or someone at management or the agency or someone through proxy.
It's him.
But now that they're saying that there was no confidential informant, we made a mistake several times.
It's
that it was an anonymous party. Well, it's hard to get that information. So it'll be a knuckle dragging fight, man. But my attorney's he's up for the fight. I'm up for the fight, and we got the people behind us. So we'll see how it rolls out. But enough about me, bro. You got me fired up on
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to just fucking do that, but I was just so fascinated.
No, well, I love the conversation because people got to see in real time you coming to the same logical answers that we
take a rocket scientist, bro.
Thank you. And so
I'm a conspiracy theorist, bro. I work at InfoWars. I know who did what, when, why. Alex Jones told you this was going to happen a year before it happened, bro.
He did, man. My famous the famous line he did: "The turning the frogs gay." Well,
that was true.
This dude's behind it. How the hell they are?
Atrazine in the water.
Here's where I do want to transition to, man.
You want to transition?
I do.
Oh, no,
well, not that kind. Not that kind. I ain't drinking that water, bro. I got
bro. You be whipping out your fake vagina on the desk. If you want a promotion, here's my cooch.
Shameless plug. My Patriot Supply. Get the Alexa Pure water filter so you ain't drinking the shit that's gonna turn you gay.
Yes, InfoWarsStore.com, and I think they're 10% off right now too. By the way,
there it is. 10% off, you guys. But you did what a lot of us hope to accomplish, man. You have pages between covers on a book that is yours. Tell us about that, man.
Well, I happen to have a copy right here. This is The Rise of American Populism, which is coming out next month on June 18th. You can order it for pre-order on Amazon. This book is a book that I wrote with my own hands. I did not hire a ghostwriter. The publisher didn't give me a ghostwriter. It's the same publisher that published Alex Jones's books. Alex Jones wrote the foreword, and I wrote it before I worked at InfoWars, mostly. And it was like a passion project. I thought I was going to self-publish. It was before I had a bunch of followers. I just, from like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., I would just sit and I would just rant. I wrote it out of like fury, man. It was like an angry letter almost. And it's a great fucking book. I'm really proud of it, to be honest with you. Especially the first half is particularly impassioned. And I think it will resonate with virtually every MAGA Republican and anyone else with an open mind who is sensing that something is deeply wrong, but doesn't yet understand why or what the solution is. This book should clear all that up for you.
If let's just say, they weren't a MAGA American. Let's just say this was a liberal that said, you know what? Yeah. I want to read this out of curiosity. What kind of impact do you think it would have on a reader like that?
I think if Rachel Maddow read it, she'd probably talk about it on her show. We'd get all pissed off.
You a fucking Nazi, bro.
Yeah, right. That's a really good question, and I haven't really thought about it. I think it depends on the type of liberal. So if you're an open-minded liberal that is willing to abandon the party that you vote for if presented with reason, I think that this book would be effective on you. So if you have friends or family that you trust and like, and they're good people and they're open-minded, they're not just like part of the cult, then yeah, I recommend giving them this book. But this book would enrage and trigger the leftists that you see, you know, screaming and wailing, and the Antifa people. This is, you know, it's very triggering for anyone who's part of the left cult. But I think that it's something that would be effective on virtually anyone else.
So if you work somewhere with a bunch of liberals, buy this shit and leave it in the break room.
Yeah, leave it around. And I'm planning on doing that here in Austin, just leaving it at fucking Olive Garden. Every Olive Garden in America is going to have this book, bro. You go to a hotel, you get a Gideon Bible. You go to an Olive Garden, you're going to get The Rise of American Populism by Chase Geiser.
Well, here's a question I have, you know, because eventually one day I want to put my story on pages between covers, right? What did you find was the like most difficult part in this book? Was it starting it? Was it finishing it? Like, what was the most difficult thing for you when you were putting it together?
Here's the deal, man. That's a great fucking question. Here's the deal. Problem is, so many people want to write a book before they have something to say or write about. They just like the idea of being an author. And I'd love to write a book one day. And I think of myself as this smart person who would be, you know, good at writing a book. And, you know, maybe that's true. But when you really have something to say, dude, if you are able to type and you're pretty good with words, it's not hard to write a book. Now, there's a couple things about my book that make it easier than other books. This is not a research book that cites studies or has charts. This is a 250-page like bitch and call to action. You know, like, fuck these people. This is what they did. This is what they did. You know, it is just like claims and blames and calls to action. Like, it's like, a fascist speech almost. I don't want to use the word fascist speech because I'm not a fascist, but it is like an impassioned broadcast in 250 pages. And it's like, I don't know, like Elton John, his records have all sucked since like the 1970s, right? But everybody loves the greatest hits. And I've been on air thousands upon thousands of hours, and only a few of those hours have been just bombshell fucking awesome. This is the greatest hits of Chase Geiser. You know, like if you want to like not try to find the cool shit, you know, that I think or say, like, you don't want to like weed through like broadcast after broadcast where I cover news that's old news. Like, just buy the book and read it, and you'll understand my philosophy.
That's pretty badass. Now, let me ask you this. You know, you started this before you were at InfoWars, before you had notoriety. When you started this, did you ever think you would have fucking Alex Jones doing your forward, bro?
That's a difficult question to answer. I'm gonna do my best because the answer is nuanced.
Okay.
I never knew how this shit was gonna work out. I just knew that this shit would work out. You know what I mean? So I didn't write this book thinking Alex Jones is going to write the forward. I'm going to get a job at InfoWars. I wrote this book thinking God's got some plan for this. I had no fucking clue what it is. You know, I have no idea how this is going to play out, but I got a feeling that this is like important for me to do. I wrote it for no reason, man. Like the hours you put into typing, and my wife's like, why aren't you working with clients? You know, you're writing your stupid book. You know, only 20,000 people follow you. Nobody's going to read it. You know, and I just knew because I'm a man of faith. And I would say that my faith is the size of a mustard seed. I'm not like a pious, you know, like saint level person, but mustard seed's enough to move mountains, motherfucker. You know? And so I would have been, I would not have been surprised if I had been told by an angel that Alex Jones was going to write the forward, but it was not something I ever could have guessed is the answer.
What a perfect answer. If that answer is any reflection of the content that's in that book, then yes, this is the greatest hits of Chase, you guys.
You would love the book, dude.
So, well, just say, you know, you can always just send me an autographed copy, bro.
I will, dude. I will. I got 50 copies coming in at the end of the month that I can send out. I'll send you one. Don't let me forget.
On, man. But I appreciate that answer, man, because you know, when I started doing this, I don't have a media background. You know what I mean? The only time I ever did sound bites is like if a journalist was wanted a sound bite from us, you know, out in some crime scene or something like that. It's like 6 seconds, right?
Right.
But
you should go find those, by the way.
You know what? I should. I find those and save those.
You gotta add it to your intro, dude, for the show. Like just you as a cop.
Oh shit! I like that idea.
We caught the fucking murderer.
Caught the murderer.
It'd be so fucking awesome, dude.
Oh, and then this just flash Travis Walker on there. Just, you know, don't know where this guy. Put him on a milk carton missing. Have you seen me? But the reason I appreciate that answer though is when I started this, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I just knew something inside me was telling me all this shit that you've been through was not for waste. You want to sit in the corner, crawl up in a little ball and cry, or do you want to take this and turn this into something that you can weaponize against evil? And I remember feeling that and just telling myself, you know what, as long as you keep your ego and your motives out of the way, you don't got to worry about it. It's like what you said. It's going to happen because the man wants it to happen. And, I would say probably one of the most critical moments for me from January 15th, when the FBI flashbanged my home, to today.
They flashbanged you?
Flashbangs,
They
drone.
flashbanged you like it was like you were Heather at the fucking bureau, bro.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, bang, 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 bro. But I remember that first night, man. You think you live life thinking, hey, if I'm a good guy, I obey the law and I don't do shit wrong. Like, I don't really, life shouldn't be so, overwhelming, right? It'll have its hurdles, but it is what it is. And I remember sitting in that solitary confinement cell, looking at this orange jumpsuit that I'm wearing that says Riverside County inmate. And I got these rubber sandals, these white socks that who knows how many freaking criminals have worn. And I'm looking down and I'm like, how did I get here?
Bro.
Like, everything in my life, I'm in a solitary confinement cell. Like, what the fuck?
Is there like a little camera in the corner too, looking at you the whole time?
So, there's something that I suspected was a camera. But I can't say for certain, but there was something that I'm like, I think that's a camera,
You should have beat off in front of it.
I just kept scratching my ass. I was just like, when I scratch my ass, that's the angle that I'm going to do it at. You want me to drink out of that freaking toilet with a freaking piss faucet on top of it? Like, then you can look at my hairy ass, every time I got ditched.
Man. You have to drink out of the toilet?
So, man, it's
not like it's got a faucet, but it's connected to the toilet water.
It's you have this silver toilet, right? And then the top, which would normally be the tank of a regular house, is your faucet. So it's like you can piss and shit there and then take a drink of water while you're at it. Like, it's terrible, man.
Dude.
Absolutely terrible. But I just remember thinking, God, if you wouldn't have let this happen to me unless there's a greater purpose. And I can either, let evil, bring me to my knees and begging for mercy, or I can let this bring me to my knees in prayer of thankfulness for my salvation. And I chose the salvation. I said, you know what, let's roll. Let's do this, and I'll do my best to keep my motives out of it, and let's go kick the shit out of evil. And here we are interviewing fucking Chase.
You know what, man? You tell that story. I want to read just one paragraph from the second chapter of my book, if you don't mind, because it ties in directly to what you're saying. I didn't plan on doing this, so please don't feel like this is me like shilling. The last paragraph of chapter 2, it says, "Let it be known that the more you shake the chains of bondage, the more you will be reviled. The more you rattle the cage, the more you will be insulted, ridiculed, abused, beaten down, and humiliated. But rise like the sun, always. And those who would shackle you won't even have the strength to look at you, for you will shine with such light that anyone who has a piece of America in their heart will gaze upon you like the star after which America is named, and be drawn to you, as our forefathers were drawn to this country, until all of America is united, and her enemies scour the earth for sanctuary, only to find no darkness remains."
Bro.
That's the kind of shit in that book, bro.
You
I couldn't write it again. It was like miraculous, dude.
You weren't kidding, bro. That shit. Damn.
Just like what you went through, bro. Just fucking shine like the sun, man.
I know you guys were filming like I was. Links down in the description. Make sure you go buy that book. All the links to follow Chase down in the description. Chase, let me give you the final words, brother. What do you want to let the audience know on the way out?
I want to say thank you. I want to say that you're an American hero, and I appreciate that. It's not a word that I use lightly to describe people. I describe virtually everybody that works here that way in various conversations, but thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be with you. The only call to action I would have would be to follow me on Twitter at @RealChaseGeiser. Check out the book if you're interested. It's also going to be available on Audible if you have Audible credits, and that's better for you. But I really appreciate you having me on and platforming me, giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience, man. And I just hope everybody wakes up and we can take this country back.
There's no doubt we're going to win. Now, how that fight looks, you know, history will tell. But
it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But we are definitely going to win, brother. With that, you guys, make sure you guys go support Chase. Get that book. I'm going to get a copy. Listen, I'm going to take an autographed copy, but I'm also going to buy one because a man needs to be paid. A man needs to be paid for his work. So with that, you guys, it's the Alpha Warriors Show. First in, last out, Semper Fi, and I'll catch you guys next time.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Geiser fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
President's former national security advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleading guilty today to lying to the FBI.
Flynn knew exactly how the system worked. He knew exactly what the intel world had been up to. He understood its funding. They had to get rid of Flynn.
There was a moment where I just felt like I was drowning. So I'm in there with these other political appointees. They're all supposed to go in there and tell what they believe to be the truth. What they did was they took my assessment and they wanted me to change it. And I was like, I'm not changing it.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
President Obama said, but I do have one specific recommendation. Stay away from Michael Flynn. He's bad news.
Over time, instead of being pounded down below the surface of the ocean, we started to fight. I'm now above the surface.